Hey there, Rory, and congratulations on 100 subscribers. I remember my 100 subscriber hit, and when I did my contest, and I didn't have anything as amazing as that set that you had there, and which is incredible. So, as a huge James Bond freak that has all my James Bond movies on the Ultimate DVD collections and no Blu-rays, I definitely have to go for this contest. And I've been checking out some of your videos there, so awesome stuff. And right now, you asked 3 questions, and they were who was my favorite James Bond, what's my favorite action movie, and recommend a movie that not a lot of people know, or I think a lot of people know anyway. Well, number 1 is going to be it's a controversial one. And who's my favorite James Bond? And actually, my favorite James Bond is Lazenby. He only played him once, and I recently rewatched on Majesty's Secret Service again in the theater, and it really plays well. It holds up a lot better than a lot of the James Bond films that I watched. It definitely holds up better than Thunderball, which I watched right after it, and that was Sean Connery. George Lazenby did a great job. I mean, coming in after Connery, who was such a strong, he pretty much defined the role. And Lazenby came in. He did a very different portrayal of James Bond. It was, in some ways, it was almost a more brutal portrayal, a more realistic portrayal. Lazenby's Bond, for me, was pretty much way ahead of its time. The way that you see Bond played now, like in the Daniel Craig movies, and the way that you see him played, even like in the Timothy Dalton films as well, was kind of more like what you got with George Lazenby. Bond was brutal. Bond made some mistakes. Bond was you could see Bond visibly get upset. Bond cries in that film, and Bond quits. Bond goes rogue, and this is the first time for all these things to be seen, like really in a movie, in one of the James Bond films. Sure, a lot of this stuff would be done later, and it would seem maybe a little redundant at that point, but this was the start of it. And George Lazenby did a great job, and the fact is the guy had not acted before. He literally got this role by going in to Sean Connery's tailor and getting his suit done, basically getting a Sean Connery suit done, and getting his haircut like Connery by going to Connery's barber. So it helped him get the film. He was an Australian actor. This was I think he'd done just modeling before that, and to see him come off and put on such a strong performance against like so many people around him, I just really loved it. I wish he had done more, but I'm glad that he did this one, and this one was so perfect. It was such a great James Bond film. It is still my favorite James Bond film to this day. I think right up there with From Russia with Love and Skyfall, which I think are also amazing James Bond films as well. The second question you asked was my favorite action movie, and it's actually a Western. I'm a big fan of of Westerns, though I don't mention them a lot on my channel, unfortunately. I probably should do a Western video, and it's The Magnificent Seven. It's one of my favorite movies. I watched this one with my son, and we really enjoyed it. Of course, this set here has all 4 Magnificent Seven movies on it, which is really cool. I got to get the TV series down the road too. It's not the same, but I'm a completist. I really love the Magnificent Seven. We got Steve McQueen, Charles Bronson, James Coburn. James Coburn is the epitome of cool in this movie. His just knife-throwing dude is so awesome. He's amazing. And so many people, sadly, a lot of people of the Magnificent Seven don't make it through this film. But incredible film. Yul Brynner did come back for the sequel, but in the third Magnificent Seven film, the role that was played by Yul Brynner was played by George Kennedy, who was a good actor, but is nothing at all like Yul Brynner. And in the fourth film, they got Lee Van Cleef, who was nothing at all like George Kennedy. But the first Magnificent Seven film, is my favorite. It's a fantastic action film. Love it. I know, it's like a takeoff of Seven Samurai and stuff like that, another film I love, but I just really love this action film. It's one that I grew up with, one I've always loved. I wanted to recommend something different to you, and I didn't want to go, I'm a horror fan, and I like action movies, I like all kinds of films, but I wanted to give you kind of something different. And this is one that I watched first on, I think, on Netflix, and then I saw it at a Blockbuster when we used to have a Blockbuster, and I bought it right away. And I think I've watched this movie about like 20 times, and I'm about to watch it tonight with my son because he hasn't seen it. It's a documentary, and I think a really good documentary, especially something like this, can be watched and rewatched because you can get different stuff out of it every time. More stories, you see movies that you want to get, especially when you got like documentaries on films and stuff. You see all these films that you're like, oh man, I've got to find that film. I got to see it somewhere, and it's not quite Hollywood. It's the exploitation documentary, and basically it talks about the movies made in Australia, like kind of like their exploitation movies then in the 70s and early 80s. A lot of stuff like they break it down into categories. They talk about like the normal ones like Mad Max and stuff like that. But they also talk about like stuff like Patrick on here as well. The mention, of course, Turkey Run, otherwise known as, of course, Escape 2000. I think that Anchor Bay put out. I actually managed to snag a copy of that one recently. And there's so many movies that, trust me, you're going to want to go out and look for the movies that are on here. And you're going to see a lot of movies here that are inspired a lot of other movies. It's really cool. It talks about, action, horror, nudity, sex, and bad taste is seen in the cheap and cheerful genre of the 70s and 80s, when the Australian film industry really went into the exploitation genre, and just amazing stuff. There's stuff here that you're really going to want to watch. If you haven't seen this documentary, I recommend watching it. You will watch it more than once. This will be one of those ones that you're going to watch, and then you're going to rewatch, and you're going to put it away for a while, and you're going to come back to it again, because it's just that fun. You're going to be introducing it to other people that love movies and love exploitation and genre filmmaking and stuff as well, because they're going to see this. If you ever like Tarantino, they're going to want to watch this film. If they ever like exploitation films or horror films or just action films from the 70s and 80s, they're going to want to watch this film. So much great stuff on here. I can't recommend this highly enough. Love the channel. Fantastic contest. Awesome prize. Keeping my fingers crossed. I'm a huge James Bond fan, so and I don't have them in Blu-ray. Actually, I did get my cousin recently For Your Eyes Only, the Blu-ray, because he hasn't had any Blu-rays yet. I'm actually giving him a Blu-ray player for his birthday tomorrow, and it'll be his first time having Blu-ray at all. So I'm dragging him into the modern times. If you have not subscribed to Roaaarry, guys, I want you to go check out his videos, sub to him, like the videos, watch them, and since I'm really horrible at putting links, it's Roaaarry. So Roaaarry. I guess we're gonna go with that because I'm not good at pronouncing stuff. Because I'm all like, I'm going to say, because of my Newfoundland accent. Yes, that would be the reasoning behind it. Not just that I don't know how to pronunciate. Just that I don't know how to pronunciate certain things. Guys, check out Rory's channel. Sub it, like it, breathe it, become it. And right now I'm going to go and realize that I rambled on too long again. Yeah, a little bit. Thanks a lot. So congratulations, anyone 100 subscribers. The next 100, trust me, they'll be there before you know it. And you're like, oh, what am I going to do for a contest this time? I'm like at the point where I said, okay, I did it at 150. Now I'm going to do it again at 300. So that's what I plan to do for mine. Again, amazing channel, great contest, and because I always say, if you watch my videos, Rory, you know that at the end of my video, I do one thing, and that's bottle the kettle to get some caffeine because it's time for tea. Congrats on 100 subscribers. You want to say congrats?
Congratulations.
Hey, that's my son.